Hello and welcome to the webinar, Be the Architect of Your Life. I am really excited that all of you are joining me today. And I wanted to say, first of all, you will not offend me if you put on your slippers, pour yourself a glass of wine, and just sit back and listen. So, I mean, it is 5 o'clock. So I'm going to start out just by mentioning a few things that we will, I'm going to this should go for about an hour, and there is an area on your screen that you should be able to ask questions, so feel free. I will get to answering them at the end of the webinar though, okay? Just to keep a consistent flow. So we will go ahead and start. So hopefully you can see my screen, Be the Architect of Your Life, and that's what this is going to be about. So let's start with a few questions. Are you feeling unfulfilled in your life? Or maybe some of you are feeling dissatisfied, but you're not really sure why. Or maybe you're a parent whose nest just got empty and you don't know how to fill that void. Or are you having that nagging feeling that there just should be more to your life, that it just isn't the fulfilling life you really thought you'd have by now? Are you feeling like you're bored or in a rut? Do you question the choices you've made in your life? And are you finding yourself sometimes daydreaming of another life? Do you feel like you may be in a midlife crisis? Do you wish that your life felt more exciting, more fun, more fulfilling? Are you basically wanting more out of your life? Then yes, you came to the right place. This webinar is absolutely for you. And I'm here to tell you you are right. There is so much more to life. And I want to be able to help you find that. So you'll want to stay with me till the very end of this webinar, which, like I said, should just be about an hour, because I have a VIP opportunity for you, just to those of you today for joining me. So here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to cover the reason you're feeling that internal ache, that kind of hollowness or lack of satisfaction in your life, what that comes from. We're going to also cover the 3 ingredients that you need to add to your life for a life transformation for the better. We'll also talk about how architecture holds the secret to your life rebuild. It might seem strange to you right now. It seems sort of like an odd thing to consider, but you'll see it actually is the secret to rebuilding your life. We'll talk about the power of your creative, intuitive mind, and then the powerful and effective steps to the architectural method, which I have for you, that will help you create a life inspired. Now, you might be wondering, who is this webinar woman? So some of you may know me, some of you may not. I'm Karen Otis. I'm an architect. I have been an architect with my own practice for over 24 years. I get to build beautiful buildings and have been doing that for so long, and I'm thoroughly passionate about the work that I do. I'm an author of the upcoming book, Be the Architect of Your Life, Create the Blueprint for Inspired Living, which should be out April 4th of 2017. I'm also a motivational speaker and dedicated life coach. So really, I get to work within my passion every single day. And I know that's rare, and sometimes I feel embarrassed to say that I really love the work that I do. So having created beautiful buildings for over 20 years, that eventually led me to help others create and build the life that they want and deserve. Now you might think, how did she go from architecture to life coaching? Well, surprisingly, it was a seamless transition for me. I will soon share with you the events in my life that led me here. We'll get to those, and it'll be pretty clear then what the transition was. My journey started with my passion for architecture when I was only 16. I went on a field trip through my high school, through the Career Center, and it was called Women in Architecture. And, up to that point, I thought, gosh, maybe I want to be a lawyer. Maybe I want to be a psychologist or psychiatrist. I really thought those were the two fields I was into. And then I went on that field trip and it changed everything. What a pivotal day that was. I came home and I remember telling my mom, this is exactly what I want to do. This is just it. It just hits home. It was exactly what my passion was. And so having found my passion at 16, eventually it led me to help others find their passion. But I'm not here today to show you how to be the architect of beautiful buildings. No, instead, I'm here to show you how to be the architect of your life so you too can live your dream life. I will show you the steps to create the blueprint for your life inspired. But you must be asking yourself, what is a life inspired? I like to call it a life inspired. And what it is a well-built life, like a solid structure or building. It has strength and stability. It's fulfilling and joyful because it is perfectly aligned with your passion and life purpose. And that's critical right there, to align your life with your passion and your life purpose. Because when that is aligned, that's when you get depth, that's when you get the real feeling of fulfillment. And a life inspired is when your soul is nourished and your spirit is elevated. It's such a different way to live. Most of us just exist, but this is truly, truly living. When you can make your life into a life inspired, it really changes everything. I want to share with you a quote, one of my most favorite quotes. It's by Mark Twain. The two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. And I'm all about that day you find out why, because I truly believe each of us has a life purpose. We have a purpose in this life to fulfill. You can call it, your calling, but we each have a journey and a purpose to bring into our life. And aligning your life with that purpose, which we all have, and it's individual and different for each of us, aligning your life with that purpose brings the depth and joy to your soul. When you step into your passion and purpose, you discover the power to take the ordinary and make it extraordinary. What I'm talking about is taking your mundane, ordinary, maybe average life that doesn't necessarily give you fulfillment, that leaves you a little hollow or empty, and create a life inspired. Now, what happens when you don't align your life with your passion and your purpose? Most of us, I think, a huge percentage in this country, they don't align their life with their passion and purpose. And these are some of the things that you're left feeling. Empty, unfulfilled, depressed, detached, passive, dissatisfied, maybe bored and in a rut, lost without direction, and just kind of going through the motions. I'm sure you know that feeling, when it hits Monday morning and your thought is, ugh, I have to go to work. And that just doesn't even excite you, but you've got to do it, and you just kind of go through the motions of your life. And maybe you plan something exciting for a weekend or something like that, but the day-to-day feels like it has some drudgery, some kind of mundane tasks that you just need to get through. And that just really isn't living. That's existing and carrying on with your life, but it's not truly, truly living. So do you feel like you're chasing happiness, but you're never quite reaching it? That feeling where you think, okay, I'm feeling empty, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling unfulfilled, I'm going to go do this. And then you do that and it still doesn't fill you. You're chasing that happiness on the outside. And when you're doing that, it leaves you very empty on the inside. It leaves your soul wounded and malnourished, unfulfilled. But with those three ingredients that I mentioned, we have three ingredients: passion, inspiration, and purpose. You will elevate your life. Now, are you ready? Here is the big shocker. The very same is true for architecture. And this is where architecture is a beautiful metaphor for creating your life inspired, because architecture has those same three ingredients: passion, inspiration, and purpose. Architects elevate mere buildings to architecture. What I mean by that is, I don't think every building can really be called architecture. You've got like your strip mall, your basic grocery store, some maybe tract homes. Those are buildings. Those are what I would call mere buildings. But once a building has passion, inspiration, and purpose, that's what gets to be called architecture. And I think you know what I mean. When you walk into a space and it literally takes your breath away and you think, oh, this is amazing, and you feel the passion, inspiration, and purpose of that space. I always like to say that the building has a soul, and that's really the definition of architecture. So those same ingredients really take the ordinary mere building and make it extraordinary into architecture. And here's some examples. I mean, this is a space you walk into and you are just completely mesmerized. It literally catches your breath. This is in Spain by Gaudí, La Sagrada Familia. Beautiful space, and you can't help but be in awe of the inspiration and passion that was poured into these. Here's some other examples. Again, spaces that really, really resonate. Your mind, your soul, your heart, everything is kind of captured by it. So architects pour that inspiration, purpose, and passion into their buildings. And when we visit those buildings, we feel and see that very inspiration, and the space resonates for us. So by pouring those same things, inspiration, purpose, and passion, into your life, it too will resonate. It too will become breathtaking and amazing and life-changing. Now, that epiphany did not come to me overnight. Sadly, it was a really long, difficult, and painful journey that finally led me to that epiphany that architecture has the same three ingredients that life should have. Let me share with you my story. It was December 1999, my worst year ever. I mean, literally, I don't wish that kind of year on anybody. It was a sad, really horrible December of '99. So I thought I had the perfect life. My son Jacob was 8, my daughter Marlia was 5, and I thought I had an adoring husband. Until the rug was literally pulled out from under me, and my life came crashing down like a house of cards. I mean, literally overnight. So overnight, I found out that my husband at the time was having an affair and that it had gone on for 3 years. And I can tell you that the shock of that was overwhelming. The pain from that was overwhelming. I had been married for 12 years and I'd known him since I was 11 years old. I did not ever see this coming. And I mean, I can literally remember sitting on the kitchen floor just sobbing and thinking, everything has just come crashing down. I don't even know what to do. So my life was soon in shambles, my life and that of my kids. I was angry. I was really angry. I was embarrassed at the details of the affair, and embarrassed that I didn't know. How did I not know of it? I was sad and hurt and felt very betrayed by someone that I had known pretty much a lifetime. My self-esteem was just devastated to the floor. I mean, I felt like I could no longer trust my intuition, because obviously my intuition wasn't in check if I had not even known about the affair. And I had really lost my faith in the universe. You know, I had been a good wife, a good daughter, a good mom, a good friend, and yet the universe didn't reward that, and that really shattered my faith in the universe. But I will say, even in all of that sadness, I mean, that misery and heartbreak, something quite amazing, something magical happened. The universe spoke to me, and here is how. So we're going to leave some of that sadness behind, and now we'll get to a more fun story, okay? So the mood will change, thank goodness. So mom knows best, as most moms do, and this is my mom here, and my little dog, Nina. And it was my birthday that year that I had just gotten divorced, because obviously that affair led to me leaving that marriage. And my mom did not want me to have a sad birthday. I was just divorced, and a couple months after that, it was my birthday. And so she said to me, "Hija, you need to have a feliz cumpleaños." She's from Chile, so hence the Spanish. And she said, "You know, I want you to have fun on your birthday. I want you to go out with all of your amigas. Go, and I'm going to get you a limo so you can really enjoy the night." So as usual, you don't say no to mom, and especially my mom. You just don't say no to my mom. I think Nina would agree too. And so I thought, all right, we'll plan this. And so the plan was that on a Saturday, my birthday was on a Saturday, that Saturday all my friends would get together at my house, and we would take a limo and we'd go to dinner in Los Angeles. And we'd have just a fun girls' night. So the Friday night right before it, so the day before, I had a super vivid dream. I mean, so vivid that to this day, I fully remember it like it just happened. And it was about Fabio. Yes, you know who Fabio is, and I do mean the Fabio. Yeah, so we're talking about the Harlequin romance man, the I can't believe it's not butter, him. So this kind of icon of romance, I will say, is not my type of guy, but in my dream, here's what happened. So in my dream, he arrives at my house, and he's like leaning up against the mantle at the fireplace, and he's reciting poetry. And my friends are kind of gathered around. And I go up to him and I'm like, "Fabio, what are you doing here? Did you not get the memo that this is just a girls only night? And, you know, nice of you to stop by, but..." So he tells me he's there dropping a girlfriend off. I have no idea who that would be, but I take him and show him to the door and say, you know, "Thanks again, the Fabio, but girls' night only." So he leaves, and that was the end of my dream. So that was, again, like I said, Friday night. So the next day, Saturday, is the day of the big event, and all my friends gather, and we get in a limo, and we are having fun, and there's champagne flowing, and we're just having a great time. And it was just what I needed. Mom was right. And we get to LA, and the girls are running in to use the bathroom because way too much champagne. And I let them know that I'm going to go see the hostess and let her know that we're all here for our table. So I go up to her, and she's a sweet girl, says to me, "You know, it's a birthday, it's a special event, so we have you set up in a private little lounge. It's not part of the main dining room, it's separate, but I think you'll really like it, and it's small and kind of intimate." So she goes up the stairs, and I'm following her, and we get to the top of the stairs, and here's this room, and my jaw literally drops. I look at this room, and it's small, and there are only two kind of L-shaped couches there on each side of the room. One of them is set up for my friends and I, you know, with and it's like a low kind of couch. It was a Japanese restaurant, so a low sort of couch, and it's all set up for us. And then there's only that one other couch in the room, and I look, and there are 5 men sitting at that couch, and one of them is Fabio. Now, I still get chills when I think about that, because what are the chances? I mean, really, I don't believe in coincidences, but that one is even too huge to even be a coincidence, even if you do believe in them. That is just outrageous. I mean, I had not just read a Harlequin romance where he was on it and I was thinking about him. He's not my typical dream guy, total pun there. But to have that dream and then have it happen was just crazy to me. And though I didn't realize it at the time, the universe was speaking to me. It took me years to know this, but it was saying what you envision manifests. And that's a really powerful message. What you envision manifests. And years later, when I finally understood the power of that, I realized if you can envision something, maybe not Fabio, maybe something else, and make it manifest, then you really are in control of your life and you can really create and build the life that you want. So unfortunately, I didn't get, all of that lesson right then. Life just doesn't really work that way. I had more of my journey to continue on. And I have to say, it was a good decade, a good 10 years of being single and trying to cope with, being a single mom and the financial difficulties of that. I started dating, and that's just a nightmare in and of itself. And, a guy I'd meet someone and then he wouldn't call, and then I would think I was upset because I thought it was going to work. I mean, I felt like a pinball in a pinball machine. That's the best way to describe it. I felt like I was reacting to everything being thrown my way. The kids would react and or act out, and I would react to that. And then the guy doesn't call and I react to that. And it was just this ongoing pinball feeling that I had really no control of my life, and I was simply reacting to whatever was thrown my way. I was just reacting. And that leaves you feeling very out of control, really frustrated, and you feel kind of futile and discouraged with life. So it really made me realize that my life was in serious need of a rebuild. My business was flourishing. It was thriving, and architecture was fantastic. I was really taking it from being a hobby prior to that because I was raising my kids to a full-on, career. And I saw that as thriving, but I saw my personal life falling apart and staying in disrepair. So I thought, I know something about building and rebuilding. And I had been turning to some wonderful friends who were loyal and full of good advice and, self-help books and a therapist, but nothing was really helping this. Nothing was really fixing or repairing my life. So I turned to what I know best about building and rebuilding, and that is architecture. And I had been purely reacting. I noticed that I had just been reacting like that pinball. And what I noticed is if I could take those exact letters and turn them around, that I could start creating my life. So rather than reacting like a pinball, I could be creating, which is what I do in architecture every single day. And creating gives you some really wonderful things. It gives you power. You're in control of things when you're creating. It gives you imagination and it gives you hope and promise. And reacting doesn't do that. So I was able to turn the letters around and start creating. And what I realized is that by applying the creative steps that I use in architecture every day to my personal life rebuild, I realized that if I could do that, it might change the outcome. And that's exactly what it did. And the results were nothing short of amazing. What I mean by that is from a life that was bouncing around, reacting and not on a good path, my life turned around to where The relationship with my kids was good. The finances were better. And I met the love of my life, Jeff, who I'm still with. And the results were just completely different when I looked to architecture and using those creative steps. And rather than applying them just to architecture, I literally took those steps and brought it over to apply to my life. And when I saw the similarities and the ability to use architecture as a metaphor for that, the results were nothing short of amazing. And guess what? This is important. You do not need to be an architect to make this work for you. I soon found out that I was helping other people with this, friends or family that were feeling that their life wasn't where they wanted it to be. I was able to help them. And once I show you the steps in what I call the architectural method, those are the creative steps we do in architecture every day. Once I show you those steps, you will have all the tools you need to be the architect of your life. And you will build something better. You'll build a better life. You will transform a mundane life that's leaving you feeling empty, bored, discouraged, discontent, dissatisfied, and you will create your life inspired. Now, this will literally be life-changing. For the clients that I've worked with, it's like they have woken up from a deep sleep, and they now know what it's like to truly be living. I mentioned that, there's a huge difference between just existing and truly, truly living, where you love your life, it gives you energy, fulfillment, joy, and it's the best that life can be, and it should be that way. I mean, this is our one shot at it, and we shouldn't be just okay with settling for average. We need to make it inspired and really brilliant. It really needs to shine. So some testimonials. Working with Karen and her Be the Architect of Your Life method has totally changed my life. Her easy to follow steps literally altered the way I think and make decisions. It gave me clarity to what I truly want in my career and life, and I love this line. Before that, I was zombie-like, just going through the motions. And I'm sure some of you can relate to that, where we're just kind of in a fog, just going through it. But to get out of that fog, to literally wake up from that fog and, just have an outstanding life that is everything you dream of, that's really living. So Be the Architect of Your Life. This method guides you to discover your passion, and it's different for each of us, to discover your passion and build your life around that. That's really the key. Rather than just going along with your life and your passion is somewhat in there, maybe, maybe not, to find your passion, to find your life purpose and build your life around it, perfectly aligned with it. That's what we want to do. And it shows you how to reinvent your life by making soul-inspired decisions, decisions where your soul feels fulfilled, because that passion and that life purpose are deeply connected to your soul. And when you are in alignment with all of that, that's where you feel that depth of your spirit. And it gives you the nudge and then the actual steps to create an authentic life, a life that fulfills beyond your dreams. Wouldn't you rather wake up each day energized to do what you love? I mean, I actually feel that every single day. I really do. I wake up excited about what I get to do because it is exactly in my passion. Architecture certainly was, since that became my passion at 16. And now this life coaching, helping others to find their passion, is my passion. And there is true excitement and fulfillment when you get to do what you love. Wouldn't you rather feel like you're really doing your life's calling, making the most of your individual journey? And wouldn't you rather feel excited and happy, living your passion and purpose? It truly is possible. I can tell you that. And I know that I am one of the few that feels that, but I want to help you get there because it really is an incredible transformation. So let's jumpstart your transformation. And here's how. So the very key to the architectural method that I talked about, the key to it is to ignite your creativity and intuition. Now, I know some of you are sitting there going, okay, she's nuts. I'm not creative. I draw stick figures. I don't paint. I got no creativity in me. But I'm going to tell you that that's not the case. Every one of us has creativity and intuition, and those are incredibly wise assets that we have. Sometimes we don't know how to tap into them, but I will show you how, and they have incredible power. So here is our brains, all right? So your brain, my brain, everyone's brain. We've got two hemispheres. The left brain is logical, it's analytical, it is linear thinking and reason. And our Western culture really emphasizes this side, so that when we're making decisions, our culture really encourages us to use left brain logic. And left brain logic is like when you're doing a math problem, you're working with the left side of your brain. But there's a problem with that, and I'll explain that in a moment. The right side of your brain is where there is creativity, where imagination lies, and art and wishes, and you can see at the bottom there, intuition. So we all have creativity and intuition. You can see it right there. And what happens is if you're making your decision, your important life decisions, based on your left side of your brain, you're leaving your intuition and your creativity behind, which is leaving your soul behind, because your soul is deeply interwoven with your intuition. And I think you know what I mean by intuition. You know, intuition is that deep-seated knowing, that certainty that you may not even need reasons for, but you just know. You may not logically think it through, but you just know, you feel it. And that intuition is what your soul speaks through. So if we're leaving our right brain aside and not bringing it to make our life choices, we're really leaving our soul behind. And that's when you feel that internal ache that we talked about. So using the architectural method, you're going to stay in the right side of your brain as long as possible as you create your blueprint for inspired living. So it's basically a new way to look at your life, to evaluate your life, and make decisions in your life, to stay in that right brain as long as you can so that your soul and your intuition, all of that inspiration is present and it's aligned with the choices that you're making. Because the left brain gives you logical and analytical answers, but it leaves your passion behind. And that's what I talked about. Eventually it creates the internal ache. The right brain, on the other hand, gives you deeply intuitive answers that are rooted in your soul. And only those, because they are coming from your soul, can bring real fulfillment and joy. Most of us haven't made life choices based on that. We've made them differently, basically from logic and linear thinking and what steps we think should come next, as opposed to really feeling what our soul is saying. Our intuitive and creative thoughts, though, can be really hard to access. And I understand that. Some people have an easier way to access them. Artists do, architects do, but those are still there. Those intuitive and creative thoughts are still there, but they're hard to access. And that is where the architectural method comes in. It has the key to easily unlock it all. Now we're going to go into the architectural method. Finally, there are 8 steps that are the tools that you need. So these 8 steps are going to tease out your passion, find your intuition and creativity. Because remember the story I had of Fabio, your intuition is incredibly wise. And so we want to do these 8 steps to then get our intuition to respond, as opposed to just our left brain, because that's where our wisdom really is. So these are the 8 steps. We're going to go through a few of them in more depth than others. The first one is site study, then history, wish list, Absorb, where you really get to absorb all the thoughts that are coming forward. You then envision a vision for yourself. And not until step 6 do you even start to draw. That's when I start to draw when I'm working on a project in architecture. I've done a lot of work prior to that before I pick up a pencil to draw, and that's important. And you won't necessarily be drawing in terms of your life, but that would be when you're writing or journaling or starting to define the answers for yourself. And step 7, you let the vision lead. As opposed to your brain leading, you let the vision lead. And step 8 is construction documents. So in architecture, we do a lot of creative work, design work, and then we get to where we need to lay out as clearly as possible for the contractor how to build what we've designed to the most intricate specifications. And that's what you will do too. You will create a set of construction documents that clearly define how to get to the vision that you've imagined. I will teach you everything I can in the limited time we have together today. Unfortunately, we won't be able to go through all 8 steps. We certainly can't do that in an hour, but I will go deeply into steps 1, 2, and 3 so you can jumpstart that life rebuild and transformation that you need right now. And I promise that before our webinar ends today, I will not leave you hanging. I promise to show you how you can work through all the remaining steps to achieve the life you want and need. So I will show you where the support and the where you can get the rest of the steps to really make that life transformation, to really get through those 8 steps in the architectural method. So let's start with step 1, which was site study. So as an architect, when I get a project, the first thing I do is I go to the site. I have to go take a look at it, see what's there. And architects, when we do this, we are looking at what is existing there, what is permanent there that we need to work with, what are some positive assets of the site. For example, maybe it's got an incredible view of the water, and that's something we want to really, that's something we really want to emphasize. Or maybe it has something negative on it that we kind of want to minimize. For example, maybe the building next door is much, much taller, and the shade that it's creating is not giving us really great light on our site. That's something we're going to want to mitigate. So we look at what is permanent, what things we want to encourage and emphasize, what things we need to mitigate, and even more importantly, we look at what things do we think are permanent but maybe really aren't. So I'll give you an example. When I was working, this is years ago, I was working on a project that had a pool, and the owners wanted to redo the majority of the house, huge remodel and addition. And they wanted to keep, they wanted to have a pool. So we thought, for budget purposes, let's keep that existing pool. So I started the design on it, and I struggled. Everything that I came up with was just not quite right. It wasn't to its full potential. It just didn't quite resonate yet. And I realized this pool was just in my way. No matter what I did, I could not make it work by leaving that pool exactly where it was. So I thought, well, let's see if I remove the pool. We can always build another pool. This one wasn't in great condition to begin with. But what would happen if I would move the pool, if I would consider it not a permanent attribute to the site, but rather something that could be removed? And what I realized once I did that, the entire design just flowed. It all worked. And it basically, the lesson in that is basically that what you think might be permanent, if it were to be moved, it might make room for some really wonderful growth or, design. So let me give you the parts of your life that need to be looked at in your site study. So you'll look at what parts of your site are permanent assets you want to build around. For example, let's say you live near your family and that is super important to you and you want to stay there because of that. That's an important permanent part of your life. On the other hand, let's say that isn't the case, but you feel that a move to another city isn't what you want to do. You think, well, no, I live in this certain city and it's permanent for me. I need to just stay there. I don't want to consider anything else. But perhaps that needs to be looked at. Perhaps if you were to look at that and you were to remove that and change that, you could make room for some growth in your life. What attributes will you enhance and what problems do you need to mitigate? Those are the things that you would look for in your life as you're studying your site. So I'm going to give you an example from Falling Water, which is a beautiful home that Frank Lloyd Wright did. So when Frank Lloyd Wright was preparing to work on this project, he went to the site and there was this wonderful asset. There was this beautiful waterfall. And he had some choices about the waterfall. Would he make it so that the house looked upon the waterfall from a distance? You know, would he make it where it was set off to a side and wrap the home around it? And what he chose to do was actually place the home on top of it so that it would really unify it with the waterfall. And the residents would really hear and be a part of that waterfall and that flow of water, that rush of water. So let me give you an example then from my life. I'm going to give you my recent site study because in the last year and a half, I actually did my own site study. I used to live in Huntington Beach. I had lived there for 24 years. The house I had there, I had redone in parts over the years. I had basically remodeled the whole thing and just loved it. And it was the house that both my kids were raised in. They were both born, you know, and that's the only home they knew. So I had really held on to that home during the divorce. I had held on to it like with claws. I was not going to let that home go. It's the only thing that gave me stability and kind of grounded and centered me. So I hung on dearly to that house. Well, about 6 years ago, I met the love of my life, Jeff, who I mentioned, and he had a home in Redondo Beach, about 45 minutes of a drive away from my home. And for the longest time, it was fine. We would, you know, visit each other. We each had our kids around. And at some point, though, my kids were all off to college, and it was my own empty nest. So at that point, it didn't feel so great anymore to have us that far apart. You know, we were wanting at this point to move forward with our life, to create a life together. And yet the real question was, he had his home that he owned and he loved Redondo Beach, and I had my home. And we really felt stuck, much like that pool story I told you about in designing that home. So it was my sister, Deb, who actually said to me one night as we were on the phone and I was home alone again, you know, because it was hard to get for Jeff and I to see each other on a daily basis just because of the drive. And she said to me, why don't you think about selling your house? Just don't freak out because I know you're going to, but let's think about that for a minute and let's see what that looks like. So in essence, she was taking my home and saying, you think it's permanent, but let's just evaluate if it really, really is. Now, I thought I would die in that home. That was my home forever, and my kids certainly thought so too. But in thinking this through, I realized, wow, maybe I'm not as tied to my home as I thought I was. And what that would look like is I could move to Redondo Beach, which I do love, and Jeff and I could then rebuild a home there that would become ours. And that would resolve all sorts of things. The home would be ours. I would feel like it had my architectural touch, which is super important to me. And yet we'd be in the city he loves, and I was ready for a new city, a change like that. So that was a huge transition for me. That was a huge realization. I looked at my site study and made the decision. And I sold my house. It sold in a day. And from that, Jeff and I moved into a little apartment on the pier while we pretty much dismantled his house and rebuilt a beautiful home that we just love. And it really, in doing that, in rebuilding that home, we basically rebuilt our lives and created a life that is really together, just the two of us, having really put together our passion on making that home. So that's my site study. So what does your site study look like? You have to take a look at the things that you want to maintain, that matter, that, you know, perhaps it's your kids that live near you, and being a grandma to their kids one day matters, and you want to be around every day. And then that's something that is permanent, that needs to be something that you keep on your site and build around. But not everything is, and so this is where you need to dig deeply and look at your site. So let's go on to step 2. Step 2 is history. So in architecture, there is, you know, an enormous amount of history, right? So it's, you have Egyptian architecture, and that led to classical, ancient architecture, Greeks, Romans, etc. Even modern architecture really takes much of its cues from some of the classical ancient architecture. So it doesn't just sort of pop up, it has a history. And the same goes for each of us. So you have to take a look at your history. You know, what brought you to this place of disappointment? What were the events in your life that brought you to the point now that you're sitting there thinking, I'm just not fully fulfilled? How did your life path happen? I'll give you an example of that. I recently worked with someone who had gone to college, studied art, had a huge passion for art. But when she got out of school, she was sort of just handed a job working with someone she had worked with prior that said, hey, I'm starting a restaurant, will you come bartend? Okay, so she did. Then working there, a friend said, hey, I'm working in an office that needs an administrative assistant. Do you want that job? So she took that. So after about 8 moves, 8 different jobs, she is now a bartender and deeply dissatisfied. And the reason being that we realized she had always taken jobs where somebody there knew her and had asked her to come on board. And what we realized is she had a deep fear of interviewing and a lack of confidence of going in there and being able to create her job, you know, to take that job and impress them. So realizing that was really important, because it then showed her she had moved so far from her passion, which was art, and the reason for it had been this fear of interviewing and fear of putting herself out there. So understanding the history is important so that you can make those changes to then get your life back on track with your passion. So it's important to see what led you astray, what led you astray from your inspiration and your passion. And maybe there's some patterns in your history that you keep repeating. For her, it was certainly taking the job that she already knew someone in that workplace. There might be other patterns that you have in your life that you keep repeating that might actually be getting in your way. So let's look at John's history. Okay, so John he's 40, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about him and what he discovered. So for him, he's 40 and his family had a family business. And as he grew up, he was always told, you know, you're going to go into this business. This is going to be for you one day. This company is something you're going to run. And he basically had huge family expectations of him. It was never available to him to really soul search and figure out what his passion is or was. He never had that opportunity that most of us get to really figure it out. What, you know, where is your heart in anything? What inspires you? What's your passion? He didn't get that opportunity because there were expectations of him. before I go on to wish list, I just want to mention that for him, it was vital to look back at his history to see that, because once we saw that and he could break away from those expectations, he then could really look at what his passion was and start creating a life based on that. And if that meant leaving the family business in search of his happiness, then that was important, and he needed to see that. And he also needed to see that that wasn't permanent for him, that position. Though it sure seemed like it to the family, it wasn't permanent. It was something that in his site study he could move and things would change dramatically. Okay, step 3 is your wish list. So in architecture, what that means is, what do you want in your house? So for example, when I'm working with a client, we figure out what that wish list is. Is it how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms? Is it an open plan or more compartmentalized? Is there outdoor living space, etc.? That's the wish list. In your personal wish list, you need to dig deeply to discover what that is and what your dreams or wishes are. And it becomes really important to distinguish if they are your wishes or those of others. What I mean by that is, someone could say to you, you know, gosh, you draw beautifully, you should be an artist. Well, that may not be your wish. That is certainly something they may wish upon you, but that's not your wish. So you need to really distinguish that. Are these wishes that others, parents or other people, loved ones, significant people in your life, that they wish for you, or are they really yours? Do they really belong to you? And that is incredibly important. And to figure out what those are, you might want to ask yourself, what do you love to do that when doing it, you lose track of time? So for example, for me, I love to paint and draw, and when I sit down to do that, it could be 8 a.m. and I don't even look up until maybe noon, and I think, wow, where did the time go? Those are the things that you are passionate about. That is where your inspiration comes from. And that's what you need to really find. That will help you find your wish list. For people, when I work on homes with a couple, for example, it becomes interesting because sometimes people are really into just building it for resale. But that can get problematic, and I tell them that because basically they're building it for someone else's wish list. Right? And that's not necessarily their wish. And then it becomes bland. It becomes very ordinary or mundane because they have not put their passion into it. So it's important that they, of course, maintain some idea of the resale, but the personality and soul of the home comes from when they put their passion and inspiration into it and not leave it devoid of it or leave it where it's all about someone else's wishes for the possible future. So the next steps of the architectural method, the ones that we can't get to, we've done the first 3. So the rest of them, the next 5, will help you. They will give you the tools to discover your passion and purpose. There are effective and really easy to do exercises, some that are just fun, to tease out those things that will inspire and revive your soul. And they're going to be different for each of us. Each of us has our own unique passion and unique life purpose. So the methods that are really the tools just to help you discover yours. And the architectural method gives you techniques to absorb the creative findings and allow your intuition to surface. Again, by kind of quieting the left side of the brain, that's how we do that, and we get your intuition to surface. And the exercises help you do that. You will also get through these proven exercises, which you'll actually enjoy. You'll create a soul-inspired vision, right? A vision that is fully aligned with your soul and your intuition. And it's going to be unique for you. You'll also get the ability to transform that vision into a full-blown set of construction plan blueprints that will clarify your action plan step by step. In that 8th step, the construction documents, that is when we finally get our left brain involved. We bring the left brain in to really specify every little thing. We get to the nitty-gritty of how can I make this vision a reality so it doesn't just stay as a vision. In architecture, without those construction documents, that design just stays on paper. So with the construction documents, the clear set of plans for our contractor, we're able to walk them through step by step how to build it. Same goes with this. You're going to get your full-blown set of construction blueprints to walk you through step by step how to take your vision and build it. So again, those were the steps. So you can see we went through 1, 2, and 3, and the rest of them lead you to that full life transformation. Now you are ready to take these first 3 steps, which we worked on, the architectural method, to begin your life rebuild, getting you closer to that life inspired that will bring you deep fulfillment and joy. And if today's webinar felt like it was speaking to you, that you felt it, you felt it resonate, it felt like, yeah, that is what I feel, that is the emptiness that I feel. And if you're ready to make your transformation real, you can take it all further with the tools, the training, and support that I want to give to you personally. Because to just have it in your mind that you can do this, change your life, doesn't necessarily make it happen. You have to go through all the steps to see the transformation and have it be a reality for your life. So I have 2 really easy options for you. So because I promised I would not leave you hanging without finding a way to get through the 8 steps, I have 2 options. One option, if you're ready and you're excited to dig a little deeper and discover your unique inspiration that will get you jazzed, excited, full of energy about your life, then I encourage you, I invite you to have a one-on-one conversation with me where you can tell me what the disappointment or the struggle in your life is. It will be a conversation about you so I can help guide you to that much needed change. So you can book a discovery call with me where I want to hear what your pain is. I want to walk you through the steps of transformation. We will have a better understanding of what it is that is keeping you from that transformation. So typically a one-on-one session, it's 45 minutes. It goes for $297. But you have invested time with me today, which I truly appreciate and enjoy. And for that, though, for the viewers of today's webinar, I'm reducing the price to $197 for that discovery call, and that's a $100 savings. And I guarantee you that is a life-changing conversation to have because it's your first step to realizing that your life is not at its full potential. And it needs to be because we only get one shot at this. You need to make your life resonate with all that fulfillment, and that comes from getting your passion and inspiration in there, and we will start to do that. So, and I will say for the first 10 who book this, because I love go-getters, you'll also get an extra 30-minute call as a follow-up for your transformation. So once you're on your way to doing these steps, which I'm going to get you going on, you may want to have another kind of check-in phone call with me that we will do to see how it's going, see where the hang-ups are, etc. So just take this step, make that commitment to yourself for that one-on-one discovery call because it will be a private 45-minute call for me to get to know you, and that is your first step to rebuilding. So if you find that you are not as satisfied as you can be, take the step for just a 45-minute call so we can figure out what needs to happen for your life rebuild. In as little as a month, you could be on your way to the life you dreamed of. And I truly mean that. When I did this for my life, everything changed. My friends and family can tell you that everything has changed. So imagine no more daily grind, no more midlife crisis or blues, pushing all that away, no more rut or boredom because you really feel like you don't know what you're doing or have no purpose. No more wondering if there's something more because you now know there is something more. Now, I've got something really special. I mentioned at the beginning, a special thing for the serious go-getters. All right, this is something that if you are truly inspired to start your transformation, this is how to do it at turbo speed. This is a unique opportunity that is not usually available. I am doing an exclusive offer that doesn't happen much. It is going to be a full day VIP workshop that is going to be in Seal Beach at my office. It's going to be Saturday, May 21st, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It is only for a small group of 10. I need it to be a small group so that I can give you each my full attention. Only a few spots are left. We go through all of the steps, 1 through 8, and we do them together so you get full guided help. I will work with you on all those steps so you leave with your vision and your detailed blueprint so you know where your passion lies and you have an action plan to get there. It is the most effective transformation plan. It's the most cost effective and the most effective in getting your life transformation to be complete and to really be stable and something that you're going to stick to. So the VIP workshop usually is $349. Like I said, though, we don't do it very often. I'm reducing it for you who are watching the webinar to $249. It's $100 savings for a full day of guidance and discovery. And it's fun. You're working with just 10 people. I'm there to work with each of you. We will do some of the exercises that are in this. I'll talk individually to you, work with you as just yourself and then as a group as well. We'll also bring in lunch. It's an unbelievable deal, really. It's unbeatable and most economical way to step into your transformation. So for the VIP day, since we're limiting it to 10 people, you have to call or email directly to make your reservation. So we can get a confirmation number for you so we don't overbook it by accident. Only the first 10 will be accepted and then the registration closes. And that's really just because I want to give you my full attention and I can't do that with more than 10. So if you want the best and most complete transformation possible, don't wait because it will fill up fast and it's a day that it'll be a pivotal day for you. It'll be like my day for women in architecture when I went on that field trip. Everything changed on that day, and that's what kind of day this is. So for VIP day, this is the number you need to call. You can call right now, 714-846-0177, or you can send an email directly to me with your contact info so that I can call you, Karen@bethearchitectofyourlife.com. But remember, only the first 10 are accepted, and again, it's for May 21st, a Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And just to let you know the reason I do this, I absolutely love what I do, and my life luckily, is built around that passion. And it fills my soul with purpose and excitement and inspiration daily. And I want that for you because if you don't have that, you're just existing. You're not truly living to your full potential. Life's not as good for you as it should be or as it could be. So don't wait for someday to start living because someday may never come. Make the choice right now to be happy and live to the fullest. So don't waste another minute feeling discouraged, disappointed, and depressed, wishing there was more to your life. Because truly, nothing makes me more sad than people living their life without a spark, without passion, without that drive and that inspiration in their life that makes them glow. So invest in your happiness and reach for that life inspired because it is there for you to make. You have to build it, but then you get to enjoy it. You deserve to have the best possible life. Anything less really is just settling, and that should not be enough. So pick option 1 or 2. Life is not a dress rehearsal, so make sure you're living it to the fullest. So option 1 was the discovery call. Option 2, the VIP day. Embrace this opportunity. It will really change your life. And I love this saying, there are 3 types of people. Those who watch things happen, those who wonder what happened, and those who make things happen. So for the discovery call, you can just go to that PayPal, that link right there. Or if you don't want to use that, go ahead and just call the number that I mentioned, 714-846-0177, to get that private discovery call, because it's disappointing. If you felt like today really spoke to you, then go the distance with it, complete it for yourself. It can be, for me, it's always disappointing if I feel like I've given you some of the the excitement that could be, but yet didn't follow through. And so I want that follow-up and that follow-through for you. Live life to the fullest, because you only get to live it once. Live it with inspiration and be your life's architect and start your very best life. Because the minute you're living your best life, you know it. It's a huge difference from just regular, average kind of existing. Choosing option 1, that's where you go, or you can contact me. And choosing 2, the VIP day, you do have to just call or go to that email address so that we can make sure we're not putting in more people than the 10. So it's, again, you can email Karen at bethearchitectofyourlife.com or call 714-846-0177 to sign up for that day. That will really be, it'll be a life changer that day. And so thank you so much for joining me today. I think we went, oh gosh, just almost exactly an hour. And it's probably time for you to pour yourself another glass of wine. And thank you so much. Thank you for going on this webinar with me, and I wish you a very inspired day.